everyone, happy 2017 and welcome to this month's episode of AnimeCons TV. I'm Elizabeth and I'm bringing you yet another cosplay segment. This segment is going to be about planning your cosplays for the convention season. Now I broken this down to a few different categories to help get you ready to go for making new costumes, re-wearing old costumes, and bringing the best that you can do costume-wise to your conventions that you're going to do for the year. The first thing that you should do is you should organize and inventory everything you currently have. That means things like your current costumes, your accessories, your shoes, your props, your wigs, and not just the current costume stuff you have, but also the current costume making stuff you have. So all your fabric, your supplies, you know, your buttons and your zippers, your patterns, your threads, your embroidery flosses, your foam, your resin, your and whatever you have on. I'm just looking in my sewing room and I have all that stuff. It's important to get to organize what you have before you kind of start anything, which I didn't do, but it's important to do this so that you know what you have on hand that you can use during the year. You can also do this to help give you an idea of what you can throw out, what you can sell, what you can give away to friends, what you can donate if anything like that is applicable. So that's a good way to kind of start the year. In addition to maybe doing this in other parts of your house or your apartment or your room, wherever you live, do this with your cosplay stuff because that will give you a good sense of things that you already have. So the first thing you want, so one thing that I'm going to do is this closet here. This is my accessories closet. This is just part of it. So this has all my cosplay accessories and my shoes and my wigs, which are down here. It's a mess. So what I'm going to be doing is going through and seeing what's in here. Through the course of last year, once I was done with the costume, I kind of just threw stuff in here. So there might be things that are missing, things that are thrown in random spots. So what I'm going to be doing is taking like these shopping bags that you can get at any type of grocery store or department store. I also have plastic shopping bags, and then I have all these totes as well. So for example, these are all my accessories for my Princess Hilda costume, and they're all in this bin. So my goal is to do this with all my costumes, is to go through, check and make sure every piece is here, every piece is in its in a good state. If not, I can go in and, you know, see if I can fix it, if I need to completely replace it, things like that. So I want to do that with every costume that I plan on keeping through next year. Anything that I want to get rid of, I can either throw away if it's not reusable or keep it if it's reusable. So things you want to keep even if you're getting rid of an entire costume are gloves. Even if it's like kind of a weird color, you never know when they could come into place again. Socks, shoes especially. Most shoes you can recover or paint something on it to redo. So always keep shoes unless they're like completely bad or if they like destroy your feet. And some of the stuff will end up being in bags, some in boxes, some in bins. And I also have, here you can't see, I have bins of random costume stuff that belong to other costumes that are now kind of in here. So like I have a pair of tights. I have these gloves, which were for my Cinderella costume I no longer have. So you want like kind of almost like your, not junk drawer, but just a general thing for general accessories that you might be able to pull in and use for other things and not have to buy. Also, when you're setting these up for your costumes, for the accessories, put a list with it. That way, when you go to the convention, when you're packing, you can check off that list and confirm that you have everything as you throw it in. So you're not like, oh, what does that part of costume have? And you have to pull up the picture and remember, and then you get to the con and you still forget stuff. So it's important to go, I would recommend going through and making a list of each part of your costume. Now this closet is accessories. I have another closet just because this wasn't this is all shelves. I have another closet around the corner that has the actual costumes because it's a longer closet. So mine is spread out in two places, and so I just have to make sure that, you know, the bigger stuff is in that closet that can hang up or go into bins, and the smaller stuff is in here. So if you have to do something like that, keep track of that as well. In addition to going through your current costumes and all the accessories and parts that go with it, you also want to go through your current supplies. Now, what I've been doing is going through all my fabric and measuring out and seeing what I have and putting them on these boards so that it's a little easy to organize, kind of similarly to what they would do in a store. So what I did was I've gone through, I took a whole bunch of cardboard that I had and cut it into these little boards. And I went and I measured the fabric, and then I have the measurement on here and just a little sticky. So I went through, I still have some over here that you can't see that I still need to go through. And this looked like twice as voluminous of fabric before I did this. So now I can easily see what colors I have and what I could potentially use for an upcoming costume. So before I go to the fabric store to buy a new fabric for a costume, this is the first place that I look. I'll look and see, okay, what do I have on hand that I obviously don't need to buy because I already bought it, and that I can use for upcoming costumes. So a lot of this is stuff that I bought for things in the past that I just ended up not making, or I thought was pretty useful, and I found for like a really good deal for like $1 or $2 or $3 a year. So do this with your fabric. Do this also with like your buttons and your zippers. You want to set those up in bins labeled so you can easily find them. My stuff is all back that way in different cupboards, and I have a box a covered box for all my zippers and my buttons and like my eyelets and grommets, and then I have a box for like paint, and my fabric paint separate from my like acrylic paints, and I also have my patterns organized. If I would recommend taking your patterns and writing down what you have, that way when, you know, say McCall's has another good sale and you go to buy patterns, you're like, oh, do I already have this pattern or not? And that way you don't buy duplicate patterns, which I've done too. So go through and organize all these things. That way, when in the next step you go to plan out what costumes you're making, you know what you have on hand that you can use and you don't have to buy. And that, of course, helps you save money, even though you've already spent the money, but you don't have to repurchase something and then give duplicates of that. Once you're organized and know what you have for your previous costumes and what you have on hand for current supplies, then it's a good time to plan your year. The first thing you want to do is figure out what conventions you're going to be going to and which ones you maybe want to go to but aren't necessarily 100% sure that you're going to yet. So once you have that schedule planned out, then think of kind of what costumes you want to do for this upcoming year. Then what I like to do is kind of put the costumes that best fit with those conventions. I think about the type of convention is, so if it's like a comic book convention, I'll be more likely to make a comic book costume. If it's a video game convention, I'll be more likely to make a video game, anime, and so forth. Also, I like to keep in mind what time of year it is when I make these costumes. So if I have like something with a lot of layers, or if it's a lot of wool, I might wear that for something earlier in the year or later in the year when it's colder. And then if I have something that's lighter with, you know, lighter fabrics without all those layers, then I might tend to plan those for the summer. But also keep in mind maybe what your friends are doing, if you're doing groups or things like that, you know, plan around those as well. And also keep in mind, like, maybe you're at a convention like Katsucon where it's all inside, so maybe you can get away with a summer convention type costume as long as the fire alarm doesn't go off and you have to go outside. So keep that in mind, and then figure out which costumes are going to take the longest time to make. So like I have upcoming Katsucon and PAX East and Anime Boston in the first quarter of the year. I'm really want to make Lulu from Final Fantasy X. I don't think I have the time to make that before those conventions, so I have Lulu planned for much much later in the year, so I can kind of start that after those conventions are over. So I think I'm gonna wear that sometime in like October if I actually start and make it, after saying I'm gonna make it for years. So things like that. Plus I want to make Miyu from Vampire Princess Miyu, which is an older show. The theme of Anime Boston is retro, so I wanted to do that for that convention. It's not a complicated costume, so that I know I can get done and finished in time for Anime Boston. Also, I make a list that's has a lot of stuff on it, and not only do I never make everything on that list, I also add new stuff throughout the year. Maybe I watch a new show, or I come across a new costume, or I find this like really awesome fabric for a really good price, and I'm able to use it for a costume that maybe has, is not on this next year's list, but is something I've been wanting to do for a while. So stuff kind of fluctuates around. Like I do everything on my phone now, but before I had this, I had notebooks where I printed out reference pictures and I had lists of when they're going to be, and there's costumes in that, and, these notebooks are from like 8, 9, 10 years ago, and there's costumes in those that I still never made. The fabric is is on those shelves though. And then some of them I did eventually end up making after a long time. So yeah, keep that in mind, that your list is going to change. And also I like to do a definite and a maybe list, and I'm always moving stuff around based on like once I know exactly when I'm going to get done for a convention or not. I push stuff down the line, I move stuff up, I move stuff back. So I like having that maybe list as like if the definite falls through, then maybe I'll make this costume instead. I track of everything in Google Docs. I have this master cosplay database, which is in a Word document and not Excel, which sounds weird calling it a database. But I've kept track of every costume that I've done, every costume that I want to do, and every costume that I have planned for this coming year, and I've just completely always recycled through it. So that's what I find really helpful. Also, I use Dropbox to keep track of all my reference photos, and I always have one folder that I'm renaming for the current year. So I have a folder now that's called 2017 Current and Potential Plans or something like that. And I put numbers next to the costumes that I really want to do, and the rest are just kind of there in case I find something that I like. So that way I can very easily find my reference pictures for the costumes that I want to make. Now, the next thing I would recommend doing is, once you know what you want to do, then come up with a budget. I know budgets aren't fun, but once you know what you want to make, then you have to figure out what kind of materials you want to make. You can use an app like Cosplanner to help with this, or you can do it right in a Word or an Excel document to help you figure out the costs. You can do kind of estimates on things, maybe make a max amount of dollar per year you already spend for a fabric, figure out how much the wig's going to be, how much the shoes are going to be if you have to order like a specific pair of shoes, or if you can just go to a thrift store and upcycle something, if you can do that. If you have to buy any patterns, if you have to buy any petticoats or other undergarments to go with something, if you need foam or other prop making materials. Plan out everything that you need to make for the costumes that you want to make, and then budget accordingly. And then you might need to cut some out. Maybe you can add some more in. But definitely being mindful of what your budget is and what kind of money you have for the upcoming year. The earlier you start, the easier it is to stay on your budget. That way you can use coupons, you can look out for sales on things like wigs and costume supplies, and that way you're not, dropping $15 last minute for a pattern because you can't wait for the next round of Simplicity patterns to go on sale. You're buying the pattern like 2 or 3 months beforehand because you know that that's something that you're going to use. So spending $1 or $2 on the pattern versus $15, which is like the full price of it, that can add up in the end when you're, being able to use coupons and things like that. So start early. Also, check your supplies you have on hand. Maybe you already have that zipper, maybe you already have that fabric, maybe you already have that fabric dye that you need. So check the supplies that you have, and since they're all organized, it should be easy to find them. And then go through also your wigs and your shoes for previous costumes, and maybe you can reuse them for an upcoming costume. Maybe you can use them as is. Maybe they just need a little change or a little bit of styling, or maybe you take a long wig and that you don't wear anymore for a costume and you just cut it shorter and restyle it. Or if you have a pair of shoes that you were using for a different costume, you can make a whole new set of boot covers to go with them. Those are two big things that I reuse a lot, are wigs and shoes. So keep that in mind. The last thing is bug your friends. So cosplay is a lot of fun with friends, and see what they're making and what they're planning on for the year. Maybe they're planning to do something from the same series you are, so you can cosplay together, and that's always awesome. Maybe there's something they want to do and you're kind of interested in doing it. Maybe they're looking for people to fill holes in a group. Maybe they want to do something that has a skill that maybe they don't know how to do yet, but you do. Or maybe they are doing something that they need certain materials that you have on hand that you're not using, that you can give to them or trade to them or sell to them. It's up to you. One thing we really like to do here with, the people in the podcast, except Patrick, because he decided to move. Just kidding, Patrick. Is to plan sewing parties, and those are really great because I know for us, we feel really productive when we have these done, because when you see other people working, it makes you not want to slack off and just sit there. We watch movies, we listen to music, we have fun snacks, we laugh, we help each other out. It's really good for fitting stuff, for getting input on designs and how you're approaching a fabric, how you're approaching a costume, and how you're doing it. So those are really great to do. We try and do those every few months. If you know you need a handler for your costume, ask one of your friends now. Don't ask them a week before the convention when they already have taken a look at the schedule and they know what they want to do and they have a full load of costumes all weekend. Ask them now. Say, even if you're just thinking about it, be like, hey, I have this costume that has these ginormous wings that I want to wear to such and such convention. I'm going to need some help. Do you have a couple hours on this whatever day to do that? If you need help getting into a costume, getting out of a costume, going to the bathroom, ask them now, and make sure you have some kind of way to recognize them for it. Maybe they will need a handler going forward. Maybe you can help them with something on a costume. Maybe you buy them dinner at the convention. Plan this now, so when it's a week before the con and everything is crazy, you're not scrambling trying to find someone to help you wear your huge opus of a costume that you want to wear. Plan this now. Also organize some trades with your friends, not just for materials, but for skills. So I'm really good at sewing, Sketch is really good at prop work. So maybe someday, I think we've never done it, but we've kind of talked about it a little bit, but is trading skills. So maybe you sew this for your friends, and then they help you get into full body makeup at a convention, or they build you a prop, or you style a wig for them, and they're your handler for a convention. So you can definitely trade skills as well if you're not able to do something but your friend is. See if there's something you can work out between the two of you, that you can exchange your skills in a bartering type system. Those are the tips that we have for planning your costumes for an upcoming convention season. We hope that this has been helpful and has given you some new ideas or new things to try out for this upcoming year. The biggest takeaway I can say is be organized. You do not want to see what's on these sides of me in my sewing room. So I am not an organized person. Some parts of it are, but that can be the biggest thing I think is helpful, because that way if you have something already on hand, you can use it and not have to, go out and purchase it. So I would recommend getting organized and having fun making your convention plans for your costumes. And if you do any awesome costumes this year, please send us a picture. We would love to see it. You can send it to podcast@animecons.tv. You can leave it on our Facebook page. You can tweet it to us. And there's probably other methods that I can't think of. But good luck this convention season, whether you're cosplaying or not. Be safe out there and have tons of fun. We'll see you next time. Bye.